The UK is a dystopia, and I'm leaving soon, says our friend here, Daryl Solis. Guys, as always, welcome to the channel. If you want to learn more about survival and preparedness, get ready for what's already happening all over the world. You have my books, Surviving the Economic Collapse, Street Survival Skills. You'll have them available in the links there below. Let's check this thing out together.
This one is just straight off the cuff, guys, talking about what it's like to live in the UK. I'm from the UK. I'm from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I live in Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm working full-time for a bank, and I am earning only £19,200 a year after tax and national insurance. The average salary when I was born in 1987 was about £19,200. I am earning the average salary in 2024, almost 2025, I'm only earning the average salary in the UK in 1987.
With the way prices, I mean, this is, if you don't get adjusted every year just because of inflation, you're just earning less and less. That far away, you are extremely impoverished with that kind of wage and the prices they have.
Yes. The average house price in 1987, the year I was born, was that.
That's insane, man. You just worked a couple of years and you bought a house.
That. Today, in the UK, the average salary is this. And in the UK, the average house price is this. I looked at the figures earlier and I was absolutely shocked. So yes, old timers or the baby boomers in this country, they will say, I worked a lot, and I paid for my house. But yeah, it was a lot easier to buy a house back in the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s. Compared to what it's like nowadays.
Of course, of course.
So, I'm happy to be from Scotland. I had a very nice upbringing, free education. We have kind of a good free healthcare system. It's not really free.
NHS
It used to be a lot better than what it is today.
Yeah.
But yes, the point of this video today is to explain why I've decided to leave the UK. It's not affordable here. If you want a high standard lifestyle, if you want to live by yourself, have a car, work.
Look what he's calling like a high life standard, a car and a place to live in. That is a high standard. Lots of people are sharing rooms, man. Lots of people are living with a bunch of other people, often strangers, renting not even an entire house or even an entire apartment. They just rent a room. It is becoming, this is getting into dystopian territory at this point.
Full time, but for not too long. If you want to retire early, the UK is not the place. It's ridiculously expensive here. The average salary now is this. Again, like, that is not enough. That is not enough for people to live a high standard lifestyle in what's supposed to be a first world country. This is not a first world country. This is a dystopia pretending to be a first world country that has a very low standard. The crime rate's getting higher, illegal immigration or illegal migration, whatever you want to call it, is getting higher.
And you see it. It's not just, it doesn't look, there's another video I have to do, but it doesn't look like a first world country. It looks like a third world country. Oh, because you're no, it's just the way it looks. It looks because of the amount of people that were going from third world countries the amount of the mass of people that were allowed in from world countries, bringing their own cultures, their own values, their way of life, their own ambitions, their own expectancies of what to get in exchange for your work. All of that molds the way in which you end up living yourself. Do you understand what I mean here? When you import basically a third world, you do end up becoming, in many ways, that same third world that they left.
We have politicians that don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to fix anything. They just make things worse. We have a prime minister in office now who just exacerbates all the issues that we've got, doesn't bother to actually address them and fix them, just makes them worse. There is no hope for this country, the UK. This place is done. This place, the UK, it's doesn't done. Matter where, Scotland, England.
You know why it's done, and I think he's right, because it has reached critical mass. Critical mass meaning there is so much change that has happened on all of these fronts. The demographics, the culture, the way in which civilized behavior is considered, the way in which people allow politicians to act, all of that has has reached a point in which you just cannot undo that. You need to, like third world countries, need to change into not being third world countries anymore. That is extremely difficult to do. Let me know of one third world country that you know of that has stopped being one in recent years. No, there's really not. You do see a lot of this, though. You do see a lot of countries that were once considered first world prosperous countries that are not so much anymore. Maybe the worst example, maybe not the worst example, maybe the best example of the worst case would be exactly UK. A country that was, it was the financial center of the European Union, but already then it was changing so much. But at least from the economic perspective, you could say, well, yeah, doing well financially. Lots of people from Europe, from the rest of Europe, would go into UK, specifically London, because high wages, and it has disappeared. You see the opposite. You see people leaving. So it just shows a huge change in that dynamic.
Wales, Northern Ireland. This is not an up-and-coming country.
No.
The UK has had its glory days. It's had its highs. Probably the best time in this country to be a working adult was probably when I was born, in the 80s and the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s.
I was just about to say early 2000s. I haven't seen this before. I was just about to say 90s, early 2000s. Early 2000s, and yes, many of the changes have been going on for a long time, probably from the 70s and 80s, and even getting worse. But yeah, at the same time that it reached its peak, it was reaching the peak of influx. It was reaching the peak of changing behind the scenes, and then all of the Brexit thing was the final nail in the coffin, because that allows a lot of things that are only seen in third world countries to happen. I mean, one of the clear examples of that is you leave the EU and all of a sudden your beaches become they literally throw crap on your own beaches, your own waters. So much the case that France, at the other end of the canal, is complaining about it. Right? How bad is it? Well, there's no control. There's no fines. There's no regulation. But most of all, there's no punishment for throwing sewer into your waters. There's no you don't have to pay for that. That was very much part of the plan. Just a small example. But in terms of banking, in terms of rights for people, in terms of how you exploit people in many ways, in terms of all of those regulations, which at one time most of those had been written with a lot of support from UK themselves. Well, all of that is gone. You were lied into thinking that it was all just about regulating the curvature of bananas, which was a lie to begin with. But that was not the kind of regulation they were looking to abolish. It was the kind of regulation that allows them to throw shit literally into water because it's cheaper than actually treating it. Then that just leaves more money in the pockets of someone that, yes, they have their company there, but probably spends more of his time in beaches in some of the tropical paradises around the world instead.
But as things are now, with the cost of living and all the issues that we are facing here, it doesn't matter if you're British or not. If you're living here in the UK and if you're working here full time, what I've been seeing recently, one should not be working full time in what's supposed to be a first world country just to survive.
Yeah, and he's right about that too. And it's not just UK, it's all over. Remember in the golden era of the male patriarchy in which women stayed home. When women could, it is crazy. Again, it's not just UK, it's all over the world. It's crazy how you've been lied into thinking that empowering women means that they can no longer stay at home if they choose to do so. They have to work all day long just as much as the man of the house. If not, they cannot afford to live. Back in the day, a woman could be a stay-at-home mom or work, whatever. That was actual freedom. You could do both. But with one parent working, with the man of the family, the man of the house, working decently, a blue-collar job, you could afford a car and you could afford a house. That was it. And the woman could stay raising the kids. And everyone was happy. And things worked. Now that you've been liberated into having no other option but to work all day too as well. What kind of liberation is that in which you have to work like a slave all day long because if not, you cannot afford to live? Both have. They've fucking enslaved us. We used to have a little bit more of freedom. Now it's gone. Yes. Your wife could stay home, raise the kids. No, that's not an option.
Most people that work in this country, they cannot even save money. So after you've paid your rent and your bills and all your fees, even if you've made cuts, for example, you've decided to stop paying for Disney Plus or Netflix or something like that.
Jesus Christ, the guy is talking about $10-20. How much is that? You're going to be saving what? $50 a month? That's the plan. For a lot of people, even that is a luxury. It is wild. Again, what is it? Half the households in the United States have less than $400 for an emergency? Some crazy number like that?
Even if you're just paying for the necessities, even after paying for those, you have literally nothing left. That is quite high. It's quite high, even compared to other countries like Australia, and they're not getting it anymore. That is not a government I want to pay tax to. The amount of tax that we pay in the UK is quite high.
Of course, it's getting worse.
They take £27
this is from a month ago. Guys, this is from a month ago. He's not even talking about the recent changes, which are just brutal.
So when you add it all up, it's quite a lot.
Anyway, he goes into this, but I agree with him 100%. I do think that's not just UK. I think that this is happening all over the world. I think that's not going to get better anywhere anytime soon. No, not even with Trump, not even in US, no. It wasn't really all that much better in terms of how the dynamic was going when he was president. It wasn't as brutal as it was with Joe Biden. Joe Biden really did a number. But let's not lie to ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves into thinking that, yes, now the middle class will rise. And no. If it does, I'll be the first one to say, well, God damn it, it actually did happen. But it won't. It won't because we've already been here. We know how these things are going to go. So we have a little bit of a victory dance, a little thing we do in terms of the cultural war, maybe at some point. But for the nitty-gritty thing, the real swamp, going nowhere, and it's all over the world. Guys, see you next time. Take care.